One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, rather than opening up a page, I'm going to just go to it on here. Let's see if I can. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
I lost my Zoom.
Okay. Come on. Okay, let me see what it looks like. Picture looks good. Can't hear any sound though. I don't hear sound. Maybe. Okay, I know. Okay, so the notices just went out saying that we're going to.
Yeah, that's my pages.
Okay, so the notices just went out saying that we're going to.
Yeah, that's my pages.
Okay, I think we're good to go. Okay, so the notices just went out saying. Okay, so I think we're good to go. Ready in 2 minutes.
What are you going to stream to?
Okay, so I'm going to try to stream to my Twitter, to my YouTube.
Okay.
I'm not sure they're going to work, but I wanted to at least give it a try. Also, I'm going to try to stream to 2 Facebook pages, 3 Facebook pages actually. So, including Louisiana politics, okay. So let
Okay.
me start. Let me start at least at this point with see what happens when I go with Twitter. I'm gonna wait another minute.
All right. I'm going to go ahead
I
and
mean,
start mine.
okay. So Okay, so we're just about ready to start. Okay, so I do believe that we are live. I'm just checking. We're trying some brand new technology out right now. Okay, I see that we're live on my Facebook page. Good afternoon, everybody. So it's not 8:30 in the morning like we normally do. This is Friday afternoon, and Colonel Rob Maness and I are going to be talking politics, and we're using some extraordinary new technology. I think we have we're streaming to 10, 3, and what, 6, 7, I lost count, different pages and timelines right now. And we'd love to hear from you. We'd like to find out uh, what your thoughts are in terms of our discussion. We're going to be talking a little bit about Louisiana politics and United States politics and everything Trump. So, good afternoon, Rob. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great, Steve. How are you?
I'm doing fine. I tell you what, I've been trying this new technology, and it's really crazy. I see. Yeah, I see that you're hooked now, so that's a good thing.
Yeah. How are you today? Yeah, and we've got some echoing going on, but looks like everything's working. I'm streaming to 7 channels myself, all of my Facebook and Twitter accounts, and my YouTube channel. It appears that
Wow,
we're
that's that's so. And I'm streaming to 3, no, 5, 5, 5 channels. Okay, so let's talk real quick about uh, what's the big topics with, say, state politics, if you don't mind?
just like last week, Steve, it looks like national and state politics is mixing quite a bit, at least at the executive level, at the governor's level. Yesterday, the governor actually met with Donald Trump, along with several other governors, to discuss the way ahead for criminal justice reform. And it was quite fascinating. I was able to observe part of it. It's great to see a Democrat governor thanking the President of the United States for his help and for his daughter's help and her husband's help. Not to mention his administration's help in getting criminal justice reform passed and to take the ideas that we have developed and implemented here in Louisiana and give us an opportunity to show those and work with folks on what we've seen as successes and to learn our lessons from our failures. Interestingly enough, at the same time that Mr. Edwards was meeting with the president yesterday and speaking, I think Senator Kennedy was speaking on the floor of the United States Senate, and I know I saw the article and saw a picture of him, but I'm assuming he was on the floor giving this speech, taking the president to task almost. In my opinion, it surprised me quite a bit, the tone of the speech, and to beware of those that are leading him down the primrose path, or maybe leading him down the primrose path on criminal justice reform. I know that Senator Kennedy has some concerns, as we all do. We want to make sure we're not releasing violent criminals back on the street early, and that's the main issue, I think, on the conservative side of the debate that continues to go on about criminal justice reform in the state of Louisiana. And I think Mr. Landry, the Attorney General, is also in that mix of opposition to some of the criminal justice reforms that have been implemented in the state of Louisiana.
Okay, so I'm just wondering whether or not this was just politics. I mean, the thing is that on Monday, I think it was, that the governor announced that he's going up there to Washington, D.C. to meet with the president. I mean, obviously, he was instrumental, along with the legislature, of putting together the criminal justice reform. And Kennedy comes up there and sends a letter off the day before his the governor's going up there. I mean, didn't it just smacks of politics, doesn't it?
Oh, it certainly does smack of politics, which is unfortunate because been a bipartisan effort. I don't like that word, but it's been a combined effort by folks on all sides of the aisle to get criminal justice reform passed. Very similar to the effort that's happening this year with the unanimous jury's constitutional amendment. Conservative groups like Louisiana Family Forum, liberal groups that worked on the raising the age on juveniles, so 17-year-olds aren't automatically considered adults in our system anymore. Some sentencing reform, and those kinds of things were all worked on together in this package. And again, I think that the governor's team is watching the numbers fairly well. I am personally satisfied. It's been unfortunate that there have been some incidents, and I think about a 20% rearrest rate for those that have been released early. One individual that I'm aware of, and I think Senator Kennedy pointed out in his letter and in his speech, the individual that started robbing people and those kind of things. So it's a very risky proposition when we go to do this, and I think everybody understands that. But it takes constant effort. What I'm looking for this coming in the coming effort is to actually take the funds that have been saved from the prison reform effort and reinvest those back into more probation officers, more programs to reintegrate these individuals through those probation officers and their programs to get them back into society as taxpayers and as solid citizens and those kind of things. And it's been shown that if we do those things and follow through on this, we will be more successful than we fail. And that's a good thing in my mind, and I think it's a good thing in most folks' mind on both sides of the aisle. This is something that we need to do for our country, and here in Louisiana, we need to do for our state.
Okay, that's certainly fair enough. So I don't know if you saw it, but apparently the governor is also having some disagreements with Jeff Landry. We just put out our website, BuyBuzz.com, and they're debating and they're arguing about the criminal justice. So I think we're into election season, don't you?
Oh yeah, we're into election season for sure. I don't think anybody's going to announce for governor on the Republican side until after the elections in November. Nobody wants to get out in front of that. Everybody's going to wait and see if the Republicans continue to maintain control of the House. And the main wild card there is Congressman Scalise. Nobody really knows what he might do if the Republicans do lose control of the House, and whether he might turn to a governor's race or not, if that were to occur. So that should be what's going on. There's been quite a bit going on with Attorney General Landry and trying to take the governor to task on various things, criminal justice reform, the death penalty, and those kind of things. And I think, like you said, that's politics. It's political season. We're coming into that, and you'll see it really heat up after Labor Day.
Okay, so
right.
we're just
okay, bear with me. I'm have a there we are.
Yeah,
okay.
I'm picking up some of your echo.
Okay, hopefully it's gone. I'm looking at different sites to see if we're streaming, and we are. YouTube, and we're going to go on LinkedIn in just a second. So, so if on a heads up race, say, assuming that Jeff Landry went against Governor Edwards, you think it would be a toss-up?
Well, Mr. Landry versus Governor Edwards head to head.
Yeah,
I think it'll be a hill climb for Mr. Landry. I mean, Edwards has never been underwater in his favorables as far as below 50%. So he's a fairly popular governor. He had a solid support of some Republicans when he was elected the first time. And I think it'd be an uphill climb if he were to step out there and run against him this time. especially if somebody like a John Kennedy gets in the race. Now that would be a
Sure.
toss-up.
You
That
think
would
so?
be dead even, yeah. I think so, based on the favorability numbers that I've been watching.
Now, there was a poll that just came out. It was a national poll. It had Edwards at 49%, Kennedy at 48%, and Cassidy at 47%. From what I remember, the poll was ranking Louisiana senators and governor, and seeing how they compare. Basically, they were mid range. That's where they were.
Yeah, I
Go
think
ahead.
the margin of error on that poll was what, 3%, if I remember
No,
correctly?
no. It was 1% actually.
1%?
Yeah.
Yeah, so even with that, the governor's still not a bit underwater if you include the margin of error. Now, I suspect that poll, I think I mentioned it last time we talked about it, because all three of them were below 50%, and they were so close together, and that's not unusual. Usually Kennedy and
Right.
Governor Edwards are separated from folks like Mr. Cassidy, which is probably just caused by the level of media attention that both get here in the state.
Right. Yeah, I mean, the three top, I guess, statewide officials are bunched in. I mean, that's somewhat unusual. 48, 49, 50. Democrat and two Republicans.
Yeah.
To me, I think it's somewhat unusual.
Yeah, it's very
Uh,
unusual to see that, and to see it below 50%. I mean, Governor Edwards and Kennedy both have been in the mid to high 50s in almost every favorability poll that I've seen on them in the last 2 years. They're very
Oh,
popular.
really?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I think Kennedy has been. Kennedy's been, all the polls I've seen, has been at about 49, 48%. I don't see him going over 50%, which I find really kind of interesting. That assuming that those polls are accurate, I find it very interesting that he hasn't penetrated.
Now, Steve, you're not just looking at the liberal polls, are you?
No, of course not. No, I certainly wouldn't do that.
I'm just have to kid around with you sometimes,
Sure. Yeah, I mean, there aren't enough polls coming out to just
No.
parse them for liberal conservatives, at least not yet. So, yeah, the poll I'm talking about, I think it was a Politico poll, I believe. Now,
And I'm not so sure they're conservative at all anymore, but
okay. So, let's see. Are there any comments from anybody? We want to get your comments. We want to get your questions to Rob Maness. Let's see. I do see. Do you see anything on your side?
let's see here.
Okay, so what we're doing is looking at the different Facebook pages and social media pages to see exactly what comments people have. They normally have a lot of comments, things they want to ask or say to Colonel Maness. Anything that really strikes you right now?
No comments that I can see.
Okay, so moving on for a second. Again, if you have any comments, please go ahead and make the comments. The first time we're doing one programming in the afternoon, so I think people are used to us doing this in the morning, 8 o'clock in the morning on Friday. But we wanted to give this a try, and with the new technology and everything. So, so the national issues. Why don't you pick one?
Well, let's talk about the continuing saga about the FISA applications, the actions of the FBI, and the actions of especially the FBI and the Department of Justice, and how they treated this so-called source, Mr. Steele, Christopher Steele. It came out just a couple days ago that Bruce Orr, who was the number 4 official at the Department of Justice, so we've known about him. We've known that his wife Nellie worked for Fusion GPS, and she's a Russia expert, speaks Russian, reads Russian, and those kind of things. And that Steele had communicated with him before he was fired. Now with the new documents that came out day before yesterday, I think it was, it's being widely reported. Even in I think the Washington Post carried it that Mr. Steele was actually continuing to be a source for the Department of Justice and the FBI through Mr. Orr even after the election. Apparently, based on Mr. Orr's documents that have been released, and including some handwritten notes from a meeting in a coffee shop, which were quite interesting. I think that confirms for a lot of us that have seen this investigation as really below board and not above board, especially from its beginnings. When you combine that with the confirmation that the Carter Page investigation was really begun using primarily the Steele dossier, which has never been verified, has this salacious information in it about Mr. Trump. And the way that that was presented to the FISA court. When you start combining these things, the average citizen of the United States of America, if they're not concerned at this point, they ought to be. This has the potential to be one of the biggest crimes in the history of the United States, because it's sure starting to look like what a lot of us have been suspecting and pontificating about, and the punditry's been on the conservative side has been talking about quite a bit, and that is that something has not been quite right there. We did the investigation started as a counter-espionage investigation. The president wasn't given a defensive briefing like Ms. Feinstein was this week, who was discovered to have had a Chinese spy working for her and driving her around for 20 years. She was given a defensive briefing. And there's been the beginning of some comparisons between the way the two teams have been treated in that regard. And it goes back to, why did they not give Mr. Trump a defensive briefing when he was a presidential candidate? They should have, and they did not act appropriately on the FBI and the DOJ side. And Mr. Orr's release of his documents, from what I can see and what's been reported in these media outlets, is that it sure looks suspicious, and the information there confirms a lot of those suspicions.
Okay, I'm looking at right now a article, ABC News. The title is Trump allies zero in on top Department of Justice official with ties to firm that research candidate. And that's one that you're referring to.
Yeah, and some of the more interesting things is that it looks like Steele was also being a go-between for a Russian oligarch. Come to find out, at the same time that he was giving information to the FBI and Mr. Orr and the Department of Justice. So, I'm hearing that subpoenas are being put together again. Last night I heard that the Senate Intelligence Committee chairman was putting subpoenas together for Mrs. Orr, Mr. Orr, Mr. Steele, Mr. Simpson of Fusion GPS again, and wants to talk to those folks now that we have this new information. It may take a while, but at some point we will get to the truth of the matter on this, because of the documentation that exists out there. Unless somebody destroys it illegally, which is possible, but so far it doesn't appear that that has been done to the extent that they would actually destroy it. They tried to redact some embarrassing things that have eventually been uncovered, and they continue to do that, I suspect, which is sad, really. I mean, once you've been seen with your hand in the cookie jar, you need to come clean for the good of the country. Folks need to come clean. It's just like Mueller's investigation. Look, he's doing an investigation. Most of us think, get it done, let's go, and let's find out what happened with the Russians or the Chinese or anybody else in our elections. in 2016. Look, we're coming up in what 95 days or so to the next election, and are we ready? I think we are. I think the president's team is, but from an intelligence perspective, I'm not so sure that the FBI is, and they aren't talking because they're so busy with all this politics.
Well, they're part of the president's team, and it's kind of hard for them. I mean, as you know, there hasn't been any coordination whatsoever until just recently. I think a week ago or two, where the different agencies have come together with some type of coordination. So
Now, Steve, that's not how it works, sir. I spent 32 years in the government, working in D.C. for some of those in the joint an interagency process is what it's called. There's no way that those folks could have given the briefing they gave last week had there not been massive amounts of coordination happening and planning happening and operations being conducted already so that they could talk about results or plans, actions, and results. And that's what they presented in that briefing in a very coordinated fashion. So there was, to me, as somebody that's been there, done that, there's been a large amount of work going on in the background over the past 6 months to a year that the average American has not known about. What you saw the other day was the tip of the iceberg of the making public of that type of work.
Well, I'm not saying the agencies, I didn't say the agencies were doing nothing. In fact, they testified that they were doing some back in February, as we talked about last time. What I'm saying is that it wasn't top down. That's all I'm saying.
Well, all of the agency chiefs said the president of the United States was the one that directed their actions.
Well, and yeah, and that was a very
Are they not to be believed?
No. Yeah, I think that he definitely told him to go out there. Okay, but keep in mind, I mean, you had Coates, who basically couldn't even talk about what happened in Russia. So how in the world, at least in what happened in Helsinki, he had to defer to national security. Anyway, look, in February they testified that the president didn't direct them in any way. So the fact that Trump was now getting slammed for doing nothing or doing very little, heck yeah, it's going to try to send somebody out there, because people were really questioning whether or not he was on the job as it relates to the Russian threat.
Sure, absolutely. But again, there's no way that they could have presented what they presented had they not been taking actions in the background. You cannot, in a serious way, say that this president's administration has not been planning, preparing, and acting on an issue like meddling in our elections or anything else for that matter in a very coordinated effort. It may not be visible to the public until they're ready to make it visible, and that's the way they should be operating. But when I saw the briefing, I was very impressed because I was skeptical myself. But that briefing confirmed for me what I suspected but wasn't sure about, and that's that the administration is working, and and we will be protected. But what I'm interested in is Mueller's findings. He's doing a trial right now on Paul Manafort on things that are not even close to related to his investigation. And I want to see because part of his investigation is the collusion piece, but the other piece, and the piece that I think most people are interested in and that constantly gets forgotten about, is what was done by foreign powers. What do we need to do to defend against it and prevent it from happening again? And that's the piece that's missing. And I'm sure the interagency chiefs and department secretaries are scrambling and asking for more and more of that information. And bad on Bob Mueller if he doesn't get this done in time to make sure that we've got the appropriate safeguards in place for the election in November of 2018. And that's the part of the investigation that is the most critical from a timing perspective. And he's in a trial with Paul Manafort this week. It's crazy.
Well, I mean, Manafort has, I mean, to me, it looks like he's going to be convicted of about 10 felonies. Now, obviously, I'm sure you're concerned about uh, Manafort committing felonies, wire fraud and tax fraud, bank fraud. I
Well, I
mean,
just wish the FBI had been concerned about it when they decided not to press those charges in the past, and then this Mueller investigation comes back and flips the decision that previous FBI investigators and prosecutors had made, and because of this presidential investigation, they decide they've got to try Paul Manafort on these, and I'm not so sure he's going to be convicted. There's been a lot of data in the testimony in the trial and a lot of evidence from that regard, but they put their star witness, Manafort's deputy, Rick Gates, up, and he lied about lying to the FBI while on the stand several times. So in my mind, if I were a juror, that guy has absolutely no credibility, and it really puts a lot of shade on whether the charges are actually the truth that are being put up against Manafort. And I'm not a defender of Paul Manafort. I don't know him. I don't care. I've never worked in the Ukraine or Russia or any of the Eastern Bloc countries other than to fly military aircraft over them so that they could see that we're still here. But other people have, especially in the political business, and Manafort's not the only one. But if he did do the things that they are accusing him of, then he should be convicted and go to jail. But none of them have anything to do with how do we safeguard our elections, and Mueller's responsible for finding that out. That's the biggest challenge that he has, but he's so focused on Manafort and Trump's team that I don't see it happening. Do you?
I think that he's charged with finding criminal activity, and I think he's also charged to provide as much information as possible. But let me tell you something. If you're going to blame Mueller, okay, for trying to not guarding this country, please don't forget the House Intelligence Committee, with Devin Nunes.
I think they've done a great job. The FISA application came out. There were the 12 of 13 major findings in the House Intelligence report. The Standing Committee on Intelligence, chaired by Devin Nunes, were confirmed in that FISA application, and he's asked for more of it to be declassified by the president, so the American people can really see the types of shenanigans that have been going on with the DOJ and the FBI and the CIA and the National Security Agency, the National Security Advisor, even the UN representative, Samantha Powers, was involved. And I'm sure Mr. Rhodes, the Deputy National Security Advisor, Ben Rhodes, was involved too. And Assistant Attorney General Sally Yates, who did some very strange things at the beginning of the Trump administration that resulted in her getting fired. So there's a lot going on with that. But that FISA application was confirming 12 of the 13 findings in the Nunes report. That's very impressive. That's very impressive for a political committee to be able to get that much right.
What was confirmed?
What's that? Well, all you have to do is go look up Byron York's article that he wrote about it, and he laid it out item by item. I don't have it memorized.
Yeah. I'd like to know, because I got to tell you, I mean, like I said, I read a lot about it, and I looked at the relevant portions of the FISA application, and I really found that again, Nunes screwed up on. I mean, nobody has asked Nunes when did he know that the FBI knew that the Clintons had paid for the dossier. I mean, he didn't know. Like I said, he did not know until October of 2017.
Sure.
But the reason why is because the Department of Justice did not know. the FBI, I mean, Department of Justice was speculating in terms of what the FBI thought. We don't have that. We don't have that down. The information was not available. It was under wraps in terms of a confidentiality agreement that ultimately Nunes was able to crack, and that's when the information became public. The FBI didn't have that information. We talked about this before. We'll have to see. There's something I see right now.
Well, here's the 13. I brought up the article of Byron York in the Washington Examiner, and it's July 22nd, 2018. He goes through all the 13 major finding paragraphs. Number one, on October 21st, 2016, the DOJ and the FBI sought and received a FISA probable cause order, not under Title VII, authorizing electronic surveillance on Carter Page from the FISA court. Page is a U.S. citizen who served as a volunteer. The application had to be first certified. That was in the report, and that was accurate. The second paragraph.
So
that paragraph was in the report. This paragraph, that was the first paragraph of the 13. That Page was under surveillance, and a FISA application was received. That was part of the Nunes report. Remember,
sure, but that's
second paragraph. Okay. Well, let me finish. The second paragraph: the FBI and DOJ obtained one initial FISA warrant targeting Carter Page and 3 FISA renewals from the FISA court. That was in his report, and it was true. Then Director James Comey signed 3 FISA applications in question on behalf of the FBI, and Deputy Director Andrew McCabe signed 1. Sally Yates, then acting Deputy Attorney General, Dan Boente, and Deputy Attorney General Rod Rosenstein under the Trump administration signed the final one. That's accurate. That's in the report. That's the report.
Yeah. Okay. So those are statement of facts.
Right.
Okay. They have been confirmed, but the ultimate conclusion that Nunes has been trying to draw, is fallacious. So
what's the conclusion that Nunes was trying to draw?
Well, the number one conclusion he was trying to draw was that the Russians were not trying to favor Donald Trump, and the Senate intelligence said otherwise, as well as did Putin. I mean, right there. I mean, you have a real question as to why in the world the House shut this thing down. Anyway, look. Okay, let's move on.
These are all the 13 major paragraphs. You can find the article.
It doesn't mean.
And the Nunes report was accurate on each and every one of them, except for there's one area that's questionable because it was opinion. Nunes made the case that the information left out of the application, like the specific source of funding for the Steele dossier, was material and relevant to the Page case. There's a question of whether that's material and relevant, and that's defined. But York found that every other major finding paragraph in that report was accurate.
Okay, let's move on. I hope that we find out. I hope, like I said, I'd like for both sides. I'd like the information to come out about whether or not there was something improper in terms of the FBI or DOJ or Obama, Clinton, whomever. I mean, I'm fine with the information coming out. Likewise, like I said, I want the information to come out as it relates to President Trump. And when I hear Giuliani talk about this thing has got to stop now, and Donald Trump saying, basically outing his own attorney general, saying this has got to stop now.
Well, he's been saying that for a year, though.
No, I understand that. I understand.
The media jumping on his last tweet about Sessions as some kind of admission was absolutely ludicrous. You know that, right?
Oh,
Steve?
no,
it was completely ludicrous.
No, absolutely not. Because
the reason why it's important for it to be finished right now. I'm sure Trump would love for it to be finished from a personal perspective, but the real reason is the elections. We don't need anything to go into October because all about October and the October surprise, and that's what Comey got in trouble for when he reopened the investigation on Hillary Clinton's
Sure.
emails because they found new information that had already been found back in August, by the way, and that's documented. And they
I'm sure you were. Yeah.
sat on it until October, and then Comey had no choice but to put it out there, and he got blamed for Hillary Clinton's loss. And I don't believe it had that much to do with Clinton's loss, but it couldn't have helped her for sure.
Okay.
So that's a valid reason for the President of the United States to want this thing to be finished with
Look,
by the end of September.
All he's got to do is testify.
About what? He's giving them answers to 20-something questions. About what? Testify about what?
Answer questions that are relevant to a lot of different issues, including obstruction of government, justice.
What questions specifically does he need
my
to
God!
answer?
Look.
Because his attorney team just told him yesterday morning or last night that they're not going to sit down with him again because they haven't come up with what's a relevant question to this investigation that hasn't already been answered.
That hasn't already been.
Yeah,
answered.
They've given them reams of data and been very transparent with them. If you take a look at what they've given them.
The thing is, in any kind of proceeding, you have a written interrogatories and admission of facts. Okay, but there's no way you're going to go to trial. There's no way that you're going to present any type of legitimate report unless you get testimony. And so the concept that, okay, well, we want everything in writing, and that's how we're going to deal with you.
No, I don't think they said that. I mean, they answered written questions for him already. What they said was there are no relevant questions left. Now, look, why would you, as an attorney, if you were a defense attorney and you had Michael Cohen out there, it's already publicly said that Donald Trump was at the Russia meeting or knew about it beforehand, and you guys are trying to make that into some obstruction of justice case. The meeting was legal, folks. The meeting was legal. I don't care who they were. That meeting with the Russians was absolutely legal. There's no doubt about it. Nothing occurred there. No outcome occurred that they could have even made an error and colluded or whatever, conspired with a foreign entity and gotten something of value from them, which means dollars, by the way, or a gift or something physical, not information. But that meeting was legal. But if you got Michael Cohen's out there saying it publicly that he knew about the meeting, are you seriously, as an attorney, would you advise your client to go sit down with a prosecutor or investigator so that they could ask him that question? Did you know about the meeting with Don Trump Jr. and those Russians beforehand? And so when he goes, no, absolutely, I told you I didn't. I put it in my written questions. I've said it on TV. I've even tweeted about it. And then they've got Michael Cohen to immediately take him to court and to trial because Michael Cohen's already said that he knew about the meeting. That would be crazy. Giuliani and those guys, I may not like Giuliani as, that much, but he's right about that one. There's no way in heck that Donald Trump should sit down with Bob Mueller and his team. And he doesn't have to. He's the President of the United States. He can't be indicted and subpoenaed like that. And he does have this thing called executive privilege, too.
Let me say this, that executive privilege does not apply when you're dealing with criminal conduct. Okay, so that's number one. Number two is, in terms of the New York meeting, you say that there was nothing illegal about that.
It's perfectly legal.
Wait,
legal.
Hold on. No, it wasn't. Okay, because it was a violation of the campaign finance law.
No,
you cannot.
No,
oh, yes, it was.
In what way? In what way?
Because if you look at what was requested, what was said by email, by the Russians saying, look, the Russian government is on your side. We have information that we want to give you. We have information we want to give you because the Russian government is on your side.
That's hearsay. That's hearsay. Who is the source of that information? You know, the guy that wrote the email was an
That was an
attorney, was a guy, yeah, it was a guy that had worked with the
It
Trumps.
does no.
That's the guy that wrote the email, but who is the source of that information? You can't even confirm that source. That would not hold up in a court of law. And look, I'm not a lawyer, but I have been a court-martial authority under military law, and I would never take that piece of evidence to trial,
Rob,
because I couldn't prove it.
Rob,
There's no witnesses that could prove that.
My friend, you're missing a
that
point.
was in the email. It was a legal meeting, Steve. It was legal, and you know what? The lady, I think, used a ploy to get him to take the meeting, and this happens all the time in politics and the corporate world, and then tries to talk about something totally different in the meeting and wastes 20 minutes of everybody's lives, and that's exactly what happened. There's nothing illegal about that. Even if she had brought something into the meeting that was information, it would still have had to gone through a process to get confirmed and have the lawyers look at it and all of those things. And you can't go into a court of law and say, well, they wouldn't have done that. It doesn't work that way. And you know that. You're an attorney. Come on.
You gonna let me talk, or you gonna talk over me? I mean,
I'm filibustering you a little bit, but tell me the confirmed source that makes the statement in the email you're talking about credible enough to be used as a piece of evidence.
It's irrelevant. It's irrelevant. What is relevant was why they took the meeting. What was relevant was the mindset of Donald Trump, Manafort, possibly the father, okay, and others. They took the meeting for a particular purpose because they knew in their mind, they knew that the Russians were favoring them, and they knew they could get dirt.
That's conjecture. Okay? That's conjecture on your part. They took the meeting because the people said they had dirt on their opponent. I would have taken that meeting. It's perfectly legal. Even if they had gotten information out of the meeting, it would have been legal. So, you know, the person that was in the meeting wasn't an agent of a foreign government named Russia either, was she? Under the FARA law? No, she wasn't registered as an agent of a foreign government. So it was a perfectly legal meeting. They knew the name of the individual before. You're talking about an email that's uncorroborated, unconfirmed, and not valid. That piece of information, the guy may have said that on his own, the American that wrote the email. Who knows? But there's no confirmation and no corroboration that statement came from somebody in the Russian government. But part two is, it doesn't matter even if it did. They still took the meeting, and they should have taken the meeting because they were looking for opposition research on their opponent. And that's how you win in politics.
Rob, you don't win in politics in a national election or any kind of election when your major enemy comes to you and says, hey, we got dirt on
Look, I know you guys on the left like to say that Russia's our major enemy. The Soviet Union is gone, okay? Russia has a GDP the size of the state of New York. Yes, they do share with us that we all, between the two of us, own 90% of the world's nuclear weapons. We no longer target them at each other. The bigger threat is China. Folks, that's a huge threat. The media has not covered the Feinstein spying like they are doing to Donald Trump. She was the head of the Senate Intelligence Committee for 20-something years. This guy was driving her around and had access to everything. And nobody's even talking about it. And we're talking about an opposition research meeting that lasted 20 minutes, didn't have any opposition research in it as being illegal and something that's going to take down the President of the United States. They'll laugh you out of the courtroom if you try that.
No, I think
it's not illegal. They didn't violate the finance laws. How'd they violate the finance laws? That's the issue. I know the finance laws.
Okay. And you're saying that that their intent was not to obtain something of value from a foreign nation or a foreign person. You're saying that was not the intent. Well, by the way, you're not. I don't see your. Let me change gears for a second. I don't see you on Facebook on your.
Which page?
Well, let's see. I'm looking at your timeline.
Personal page.
I don't
Yeah.
see your. Let me change
personal
page. Are you there? I don't see it.
Yeah, I see it.
Oh, you do?
Yeah.
Okay, maybe you may have only put private though.
Let's see here.
You may have put private.
I'm trying to find that.
Yeah.
Share it public.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so I do see. Okay, so let me respond to some of your comments from our real good friends, by the way, who I really like, Tim Allen Matthews and Lynn Matthews. I've had some really good conversations with them, both of them,
Yeah.
and I really do thank them for participating. Seriously, I really do. So here's something that what they said was. Tim Allen says 100% conjecture. Mindset can be proven on this issue anyways. I think he says means can't. The mindset is not an admission of guilt. Laugh out loud, kind of like those free cruise time share people. Let me be, please don't filibuster. Okay, let me just tell you what my position is here. You can disagree. Okay, that's fine. Okay. And I think that you raise good points, and that is that a lot of the information, okay, in terms of what was on the Russian side could very well be hearsay. Okay, it could also be an admission, which is an exception to the hearsay law. But here's another thing. Like I said, the question is whether or not there was a conspiracy, and a conspiracy to violate the campaign finance laws. That's what the issue is. And if you have intent to do things that are going to implicate the campaign finance laws, such as receiving something of value from a foreign national, especially with all the information you had going into that meeting, okay, basically you have received that information. You accepted that meeting. That's the issue. That's the issue.
But you're missing the point, though, Steve, and that's why
No,
that's why I want the campaign finance law does not prohibit you from talking to or getting information from a foreign power or a foreign agent or a foreign national. It does not prohibit you from doing that. What it prohibits you from is getting something of value like dollars, or say they came in and said, hey, we want to run social media ads for you and pay money for it. And Don Jr. said, yeah, that's a good idea. And he goes back, tells Dad, and Dad says, yeah, that's a good idea. That's a violation of campaign finance law.
Okay, so
but not information. It has no value, intrinsic financial value. And if you look at the case law, on FEC violations, it never goes to information. It never goes to information as identifying as something of value.
Well, okay.
It's got to be valued from a financial perspective.
I see. So therefore, the millions of dollars that the Clintons and the Democrats paid had nothing to do with value, okay, by your standards. I mean, that's what you're saying, that these people paid money for some, but no, that has nothing to do with value. Look, information about a campaign is
did the Trump people pay the Russians for anything? Did they pay?
What
But because I can tell you, the Clinton campaign and the DNC did pay some
they
Russians because
took
the
the meeting.
Steele
No,
dossier. Here's the reason.
they
Here's the problem
no,
with the Steele dossier.
I
The
don't
Steele
think that you're
dossier
understanding what.
was the most egregious complaints and information in the Steele dossier about Mr. Trump were from Russian agents, and Steele had to pay them some money to get that information. That's a documented fact. So if somebody committed FEC violations and there was something financial involved, it was when Hillary Clinton and the DNC paid those millions of dollars, and some of that may have ended up in the hands of foreign agents and foreign nationals, and that could be considered a violation of the FEC financing laws because it's something of value.
There is a major difference between what Clinton and Democrats did. Okay, they
Oh,
did not. Wait,
it's
hold on.
worse.
They did. Oh, okay. Well, anyway, I'm just telling you, in my opinion, I think there's a darn good argument. Okay, and I think there are some very serious legal consequences with their taking the job and taking the meeting, and I think there's very serious consequences with their lying about what the meeting was about. Okay, and I think
Lying
that.
about it.
Oh yes, lying.
The
I
meeting
mean,
turned
Tom,
out the meeting turned out to be about adoption stuff.
no.
That's what Don Trump Jr. said.
That's not what the
That's a,
meeting was for. That wasn't what the meeting was for, and you know that.
but that's what was discussed in that meeting. He was asked about it. I mean, and he answered it several times
It
in
gets
different
no,
in
no, no.
writing, in a press release, I think, and in testimony, didn't he?
It's about intent. What the consequences are irrelevant. Is the issue is intent? Okay, why did they take the meeting?
To get dirt on
That,
Hillary Clinton. That's not illegal. That's
exactly.
not a
Well,
violation of the
okay,
FEC laws.
okay.
It's not.
And I say it is.
Well,
Yeah. No, I say it is.
I've run for.
I say
Hey,
it
I may
is.
not have won, but I've run for office 3 times, and I've worked with the attorneys, and I've raised $5 million doing it. And I've had foreign donations that I've had to
Yep.
return, and there's no way the FEC would try to try me. And I even got a donation or two. I think it was
Sure.
two. From a foreign national, and we had to return them. So
Okay.
the Trumps, as far as I know, didn't even get a donation. Heck,
No,
the Obama campaign paid $800,000 in fines to the FEC, and nobody was
what
threatened with jail. These guys take a meeting where nothing was exchanged, not even information, and people want to send them to jail for it. It's just not. It doesn't work that way. That's not the way the laws work.
when the top campaign manager and the son of the candidate intend to get something of value
That's
from a
information
foreign
is not of
country,
value
okay, I will
unless
send
you're
you.
paying for it.
No, I will send you citations in terms of if information, just information, pure information.
Look,
Is
Alan
about
Dershowitz has said it.
Alan Dershowitz.
Other justices have said it. Other judges that are pundits have said it. There is Giuliani
No,
has said it. They've all these attorneys have said it. There is no even if they had the meeting, there's no violation of the law, and they did have the meeting. And quite frankly, even if he knew about the meeting, there's no violation of the law unless he tries to lie to Mueller about it, which is why you shouldn't sit down with Mueller.
I'm looking at something interesting. Yeah, we'll have to talk afterwards. I want to tell you something that I'm seeing on Facebook. Okay, let me just answer Lynn Matthews real quick. Is there a transcript of the meeting? And I think the answer to that is no. But Lynn, let me make the point. The issue in terms of the meeting, what happened at the meeting, is relevant. If in fact there was information that was actually provided that was useful. Okay.
I'll just add. I could just add to that, Steve, that there are transcripts of every person that was at the meeting, save the Russian woman, did testify before the Senate Intelligence Committee, and there are transcripts that exist under that committee that show what they said.
We're talking about we're talking about live
Right.
transcripts at the time verbatim at the time of the meeting, and I'm saying no. There was nobody taking notes or recordings to my knowledge.
Yeah.
But again, just so that you and Tim and Lynn understand what I'm saying, I want to be real clear here. Okay, I'm going to concede. Okay, that based on the information that we have right now, I'm going to concede that they did not plan anything that was illegal in the meeting. Okay, so the transcript, etc., would probably be helpful to Donald Trump. Okay, but that again, in my mind, is not the issue. The issue is very, very, very basic, and that is if I'm the son of the president, or if I'm the president or the candidate, and I get notified that the Russian government wanted my dad to win, and they wanted to bring to me information about my opponent that the Russians had, and maybe, and I say maybe, the information could have been at the time that they thought about it, could have been emails, okay, from Democrats or from Hillary or whatever, okay, if that were misgotten information. Regardless, if you take a meeting with a foreign government or a foreign national to get something of value, it doesn't make a difference whether or not you got the information of value. Okay, it was the intent, it was the conspiracy. Okay, and so that, I think, is what the issue is. And then when Donald Trump goes and he lies and tries to spin it to say that it was about adoptions, when in fact it wasn't about. That's not why they took the meeting.
No, they took the meeting to get dirt on Hillary Clinton. It was clear in the email.
Okay, even Donald Trump, even Donald Trump said that in so many words, let me say that it's okay to lie to the New York Times. Okay, so in other words,
New York Times lies to the American people all the time. So
I see. So it's okay for the president to lie about the New York Times, lie to the New York Times.
I don't think it's okay for the president to ever lie, but that's between him and his maker.
About something that is being investigated, by the way. So, anyway, listen.
Let me be clear. Let me be clear on my position, and that is the contents of the meeting were not illegal. The decision to take the meeting by Don Trump Jr. was not illegal. The outcome of the meeting was not illegal, and nothing that happened after the meeting, whether it was the president weighing in on the press release that Mr. Trump Jr. put out or anything, was illegal. And there wasn't any obstruction of justice. I don't even know if the president knew there was an investigation at that point, because I think the investigation was a counterintelligence investigation. And that's another thing that doesn't come out, is when did the line change from a counterintelligence investigation to a criminal investigation? Because the Mueller investigation, before he got appointed, began as Peter Strzok's counterintelligence investigation. And there's a huge difference between the two. And that's why you keep hearing me say that they should have given a defensive briefing to the President of the United States and his top team because of that. Just like they did to with Dianne Feinstein about the Chinese spy. But again, back to the meeting, and I don't believe that the law prohibits that. As a matter of fact, I've seen foreign nationals from Russia work in American political campaigns. It's perfectly legal. Are you telling me the president could never be in a meeting with a campaign worker?
Never be in a meeting with a campaign worker.
Yeah, foreign nationals can work on a political campaign.
What I'm saying
as a volunteer.
What I'm saying is that they can't receive something of value from a foreign government or from a foreign national.
There wasn't a member of a foreign government in that meeting.
Okay. We will, let's see, Tim Allen, I will go ahead and post the information about something of value, so that we do get this squared away. Okay, it's been lively. Thank you, folks, for watching. Please go ahead and share with others. Make sure you like the video. Make sure you share it. We want to get this out as much as possible. One of us is going to win a jackpot of money for being right at the end of all this investigation stuff going on.
Plastic play
Really,
money.
you got it. Absolutely. So, we're going to win. So listen, thank you so much. I'm going to go ahead and say goodbye. I'm going to hit a couple buttons. I need to put this computer away. Bear with me.
And I am too going to say goodbye. Thank you, Steve. I appreciate it. It's been fun as always. I look forward to our next time.
Absolutely. Hold on one second. I want to tell you what's going on.
Yeah.
I got.
Let me shut these broadcasts
Show you
down.
something.